Fred, stop it. That's creepy. Just quit it now.
Well, Doc, it's so dark out here, I can't even see the nose in front of my face. What's that up there?
Huh. Story. This is turning into quite a story, Fred, thanks to you and no gas. I said stop it. That's creeping me out.
Doc, look up here. There's some lights. Maybe we can find some help up here.
Well, I sure hope so. Maybe we can salvage this yet, Fred. Yeah, right here. Well, it looks like there's lights ahead here, Fred. At least it's some kind of a town.
Let's go up there where that sign says something.
Yeah, I can't read it. What was the name of this town?
Story.
Oh, that's right. How could I ever forget that, Fred?
You're always thinking negative, Doc. Hang with the old Fred, and we'll get you through this mess.
Yeah, I've heard that before, Fred. Okay. Almost read it. Huh.
It says the Story Inn. That would probably be a likely place for a lot of people to gather. Let's go try to find some help there.
Let's do it. An inn, we could probably get some lodging for the night. What was that noise back there? Did you hear that? Oh, it's my bowling.
Probably just your cloak flapping in the breeze.
Whatever, Fred. Let's just get in out of the weather, see if we can get some help, get out of here, and get back to the crypt mobile.
Well, what is the Story Inn? It's a town. It's also a bed and breakfast. It's the only place that I'm aware of that is both a bed and breakfast and a town. The town itself was founded in 1851 by grant of a land patent from President Millard Fillmore to Dr. George Story. And here in the Story Inn, we have the land patent downstairs on display. The town was marked with several buildings, many of which survive today, and the most prominent of which is the general store. That's the building that we're in right now. And this one was fairly new, constructed in 1916 after a fire, but the original town has many of the buildings from the 1850s still in place. Among those is the Doc Story House. The Wheeler homestead is very much intact. The old grain mill, there's a barn that's just about 100 years old, very close to where we now sit. And the town is just delightfully unchanged from the years past. We don't have many things here that would indicate that the 20th century visited here, let alone the 21st century. What is nice about this place is that it's now possible to visit here and enjoy the Story, the town of Story, by visiting the Story Inn. I can't take credit for starting the place. This was the entire town was purchased in the late 60s, early 70s. By some hippies, basically, that took the town over, starting with the general store, and opened up a Earth Natural kind of a restaurant here, an organic foods kind of a place, and built or constructed the 4 rooms right above the general store, which is where we now sit. These were the initial 4 rooms at the Story Inn. And then they bought the rest of the town piece by piece, house by house, and constructed it, renovating it, bringing it back from its usually abandoned, dilapidated condition into something that was very presentable. Today, the town consists of this building, which has 4 overnight accommodations, 10 more overnight accommodations in various places around town, the old grain mill, which is a dining hall, and several barns, and other outbuildings. And the interesting thing is, I didn't buy the town until just about 7 years ago. It was late in 1998. And I was just absolutely flabbergasted when I went into this room, which is called the Blue Lady Room, and went through the guest book from this room and discovered that the guests who had been staying here had written accounts about seeing an apparition, seeing a lady with long flowing white robes that would appear in the window or in the mirror. When they'd look in the mirror, they'd see her face. They would see her vaporize and just detach and disappear. Sometimes they could ask her a question or two and she would answer. Other times she would simply be silent, but her presence would be known. Now, I am not a person who believes in ghosts, and I can't take seriously any proposition that cannot be proved right or wrong. So as a person steeped in the scientific principles of being able to test a hypothesis, I didn't take it very seriously. But I will say that there are a great many things that I've experienced here that I cannot explain. And most compellingly, when I look at the old guest books from this room and from the other rooms upstairs above the old general store, I see consistent reports of people who could not have communicated with each other from different cities at different times, having written consistent reports about seeing the same thing here in this room. And the interesting thing is the guest book accounts were in different books. In the 70s, we would, have a series of books. They'd fill up, and the 80s came, the 90s came, and so forth. And we keep, the previous owners had kept the books up in an attic, pretty much forgotten. And I went through these books and discovered, to my surprise, that there were consistent reports between books among people at different times, sometimes decades apart, who couldn't possibly have communicated with each other, who were in fact reporting the same thing. And I can't explain that. I don't have a good explanation for that. Now, what I did do is I put some of these accounts, they represent less than 1% of the total, and I put some of these on our website at storyin.com. And we started offering a glass of wine or a bottle of wine with people that check into the room, and suddenly the number of sightings went up markedly. There is a scientific explanation for that one. But what I don't understand is why or how these reports became recorded over such a long period of time and how they could be consistent with people who are not obviously communicating with each other and certainly have no axe to grind. There's no economic motive to this. There's nothing. The other thing that I can't explain is that a good number of my employees, people that have worked here, particularly in the housekeeping department, clean these rooms. They go through all the time, whatever room it may be, the Wheeler Homestead or the Morrison Kelly or this Blue Lady room, and they will experience things. And I find myself nodding in agreement with them when they describe the Blue Lady as a fact. The housekeeper will come down and say, I saw her. She was upstairs. And I'll say, well, you're crazy, sit down, you've been working too hard. No, I'll say, what happened? He says, well, I saw the door open, I saw the door close. I felt her. What was it exactly? So forth. And what I'm getting is a lot of people, again, with no axe to grind, no motive to speak anything but the truth, telling me about something which, again, is fairly consistent. These reports are consistent about unexplained occurrences in this room particularly and in many other rooms. It is allegedly connected with this blue light. Now, this light has been with the Story Inn for as long as anybody can remember. If you turn the light on, supposedly you can summon the Blue Lady, and I think that's why they call her the Blue Lady. And I think it's a fascinating part of the history of Indiana. I don't. I think that if I saw her myself, I don't know if I would still be persuaded that she exists. I would have to test that hypothesis, I'd have to talk to her. I'd have to ask her to repeat the occurrence, especially in front of camera. You know, I'd have to put my hands up to her and touch her and so forth, and see some demonstrable you know, evidence that she in fact does exist. But I will say that the majority of the people who work here will speak honestly of experiences, and they in fact do believe in the Blue Lady.
Good evening. Won't you come in?
Dr. Stone, and this is my assistant, Mr. Ascare, and we've had the unfortunate situation of running out of fuel right out here on the edge of town.
Welcome to the Story Inn. We've been expecting you.
What? Expecting us?
Absolutely. Won't you come in, have a glass of wine, take the chill off?
Oh, I'll take a chocolate milkshake with whipped cream and shaved chocolate and 3 cherries.
Fred, behave.
Sir, I like your house.
Treat it as your own. May I offer you gentlemen lodging for the night?
You know, actually, we are
Docky, baby, let me handle this. Yes, we will take you up on this night's lodging. Since our driver won't be here till tomorrow, and we can put that off till then. Yeah, we'll take you up on that.
Well, let me show you to your rooms. Dinner will be served at 9.
Excellent.
We are grateful. Nice place.
In your room, Doctor?
Wow, nice room. Thank you.
And your room?
Wow, this is excellent.
Have a pleasant night, Mr. Ascare.
Actually, it's Doktor Ascare.
Okay, Doctor. Well, if you doctors need anything, don't hesitate to call.
Thank you. Good evening. Doc, there's weird noises in my room. I can feel this presence all around. It's giving me the heebie-jeebies.
Fred, never, ever sneak up on me like that again. What did the caretaker say? Didn't he say there will be strange noises throughout the night? Fred.
Hey, that guy creeps me out. Besides, I keep hearing this really scary voice saying, Fred, Fred. It's scaring me, Doc.
Well, you know what? It should, Fred, because you're just like being weird. I don't know what's wrong with you.
All right. Well, my husband and I are always in a bit of an argument because I am a true believer and he is not, even though I've found that around 2 a.m. sometimes since we moved into Doc's story, he can be quite the believer. Honey, right, honey? I don't know. I was raised by a woman that was kind of a voodoo priestess on the barrier islands of South Carolina. So anyway, this has been part of my heritage and part of my life. But Story, I've been around Story for over a decade now and have seen quite a few things. It's never scary, even though sometimes I tend to be afraid. It took 12 years for me to see the Blue Lady, and I finally saw her this summer. and it was just the white dress walking down the stairs. But nothing truly was frightening until we moved into Doc Story's house. And one of the oddest things was, about 2 months ago, my husband and I had 3 Great Danes, and unfortunately we lost one. And we have a little dog yard, and I walked outside and I saw a dog. I saw a Great Dane. And I came back in, saw our 2 were still on their beds, walked out, came back in and said, "Oh my God, honey, I just saw Babar's ghost." That seemed absurd, that seemed insane, no big deal. Well, what it turned out, when I was going through the mill, which is where we had moved from, Babar's ashes, which were in a place of prominence, one of the housekeepers, not knowing what they were in an urn, had thrown them away. And I retrieved them and put them where they belong, in the front of the restaurant. What was even more frightening was we had a young girl that stayed with us one weekend. She helped out at a wedding, and she needed a place to stay, so we let her stay upstairs. No one down here knew anything about Babar. Babar passed away before Rick and I moved onto the property. And she came down to the restaurant, ashen, the next morning, got the hell out of here, and said, "I'm not going to stay here anymore." And I said, "Well, what's wrong, Layla?" And she said, "All night long, I just kept hearing a man scream, 'Babar, Babar.'" And no one on the staff knew that there was a dog named Babar or anything. We've had other things happen. You hear footsteps all the time. You can hear somebody walking upstairs. We lived upstairs, but we moved back downstairs because there were too many ghostly things happening for me to get a night's sleep. A television turning on and off one night featuring Dracula, lights on and off. It was so bizarre. Downstairs, the only part of our house that's haunted is the bathroom. And at night, sometimes you can hear a voice calling you from the bathroom. But the entire place, there are rooms, if you want to come here, that absolutely aren't haunted, and we can tell you which ones those are. But if you want to come here and you like walking on a full moon night or even a half moon night, and you don't want a ghost, don't walk past the tree out back. There are rumors that a young gentleman hung himself out there. You know, one of the things that servers will notice, and glass will spontaneously break. There is a certain table. Now, because we put a piano there, we don't have a table there anymore. And that's actually turned out to be good. We used to call that table the front table. And for some reason, glass would spontaneously break at that table. We haven't had that since, like I said, fortunately, it was a window table, so it was very popular. But there was something about it that someone would be drinking an iced tea or a glass of wine, and it would fall, it would explode, the situations would vary, but that table was routinely known for having some pretty serious issues. One of the things that's interesting is so many people that come here want to stay in the Blue Lady room because there have been a lot of hauntings. One of the oddest things is the Blue Lady seems to have a sense of her own privacy, perhaps, but since we've gotten to know about the Blue Lady room, she has moved to the Morrison Kelly, and we have more legitimate ghost sightings out of the Morrison Kelly than any other room. Now tonight that hasn't been different. That's been a little bit different because since we've been sitting up here, the Blue Lady door has been opening and closing and opening and closing, which kind of scares me, especially when I have to lock up, if I have to lock up at night. But it's like I said, it's really odd. We'll get a few reports now out of the Blue Lady, but a lot of people will come here just for that, and they won't see anything, and then we'll have someone staying in the Morrison Kelly who simply came here for a quiet evening that will have the ghostly experience of their lives.
I can't believe Doc doesn't believe me. I know I heard someone say my name. I heard it with my own ears. It was saying, Fred. Fred. Fred.
Fred. Fred. You've lost.
Doc.
Fred! Fred! Were you calling me?
Doc, there's two ghosts in this room. They keep calling my name over and over and over again.
Fred, you know what? You better stop this, or I guarantee you no more classic black and white horror. You've got to stop it.
I can't act scared. Can't be afraid, or no more black and white horror movies. Why didn't I just put gas in the old Cryptmobile? We wouldn't have to stay at this scary lodge all night long. Glad I got my lucky coin. Where's my lucky silver dollar? Oh, it's gone. No wonder I'm being menaced by evil. Fred! Blue lady. Blue lady. Docky, guess what I just found? Doc, guess who I just talked to? Who? The blue lady. She's been trying to talk to me all this time, saying, Fred, you've lost. Fred, you've lost. And I kept putting her off. But actually she was just trying to say, Fred, you've lost your lucky silver dollar. And she helped me find it underneath my pillow. I'm so glad I found it.
Well, Fred, you know what? You've been worried over nothing. The blue lady was just trying to help you. She really was. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, be sure to join us next time for more Spookaroonies.